Okay.
Well, I will be quiet.
Okay. Well, you led the charge on the fishing this morning. Well done.
Big ones, Jack,
Really? How big?
10 inches.
How do you know?
Oh, we brought out a tape.
Great. Okay. I'm gonna
Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. The time being 9 a.m. on Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. I'd like to call the Kane County Finance and Budget Committee meeting to order. Savannah, please do the roll call.
Juby? Juby here. Lewis?
Here.
Sanchez? Surges? Tepe?
Tepe here.
Leonard?
Leonard here.
Berman? No, Roth.
Roth here.
Person quorum?
Okay, we have an in-person quorum. Thank you very much. For remote attendance, Mr. Berman has asked that he be able to attend. Does anyone have an objection to that? Seeing none, welcome, Mr. Berman. On a personal note, I'd just like to say that I had the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Berman yesterday, and he's doing very well. So we wish him the best and hope he recovers quickly. The next order of business is we need approval of the minutes. I'd like to ask for unanimous consent for the minutes of June 25th, 2025.
Tepe, yes for unanimous consent.
Any objection? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Under public comment, we have 4 speakers today. The very first speaker will be Janine Mayer.
Good morning. This morning, we're proposing yet another tax. This time, a Kane County grocery tax to help plug the $30 million hole that was created in the county budget by Madam Chair. Let's be honest, this is a tax on food, and you're slipping it in without voter impact. That is taxation without representation. Just because the state law allows you to impose this tax does not mean it's the right thing to do. It seems that Madam Chair, who is leading this, has never seen a tax that she doesn't like. She's tax happy, and the people of Kane County are sick of it. We do have short memories, but please remember that the Kane County citizens came out en masse to vote against the 0.75% sales tax. And now you're trying to push this through and sneak it through. We're already taxed to death, highest taxpayers in the country. What's worse, there's no transparency. I did not see an estimate for how much revenue this will generate. Is that by design? Because if the public knew how small the return was compared to the burden, they'd object to this outright. And here's what makes this even more outrageous. The state of Illinois is moving in the opposite direction. The state is eliminating the onerous 1% grocery tax starting in 2026. So while Springfield gives families a break, Kane County wants to snatch it right back. That's shameful. This is not responsible governing. This is desperation born out of poor fiscal management. You've overspent. You've grown the budget far beyond reason. Just 5 years ago, Kane County operated on nearly half the budget we have today. And now, instead of tightening your belt, you're reaching deeper into our pockets. A responsible government would cut spending, cut the temporary new hires during COVID. There is much more that can be cut in a budget that went from spending $70 million to $140 million in 5 short years. There is obvious waste. We operated on almost 70 million for many years. This county was functional and operational. And now you've added almost 70 million in 5 years. There's a lot of that could be cut out. We need to cut taxes, not add another. We need leaner government, not bigger budgets. I urge this board to vote no on this grocery tax. Do not punish the people for your mismanagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Our next speaker is Victoria Davidson Bell.
Good morning. I'm Victoria Davidson Bell. I've been a long-term resident of Geneva. I've been coming to these meetings recently, trying to understand the the issues that you are all dealing with right now, especially with the failure of the tax referendum. Oh, tax referendum. Thank you. And I wanted to share an observation I made last time I was here. And let me preface it by saying that people are tired of the fighting, tired of the polarization, tired of the vitriol, tired of the verbal Molotov cocktails that people are throwing, including what you just saw here. What people want, regardless of whether or not they're Democrats or Republicans, is they want our government to work for us, with us. And I wanted to say that what I observed last time I was here made a good impression on me. You're dealing with the fallout of the tax referendum. You had prior to the meeting, you had separated into different subcommittees to work on various issues. And it was evident to me, because I stayed through the entire meeting, that there was civil discourse. You listened to each other, you heard each other, and you were trying to work together in a constructive manner. That is what we want. That is what people want. And I appreciate it. I would hope to see more of that across the entire board, not just this committee. And I wanted to applaud you for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, our next speaker is Brian Anderson.
Good morning, Brian Anderson, Sugar Grove. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been 113 days since April 1st, and here we are. We've got taxing on this agenda instead of doing the hard work and the heavy lifting. You know, Representative Mr. Roth, I was at one of the special meetings. He had a wonderful 12-point plan that he shared with the Finance Committee. To my knowledge, I don't think any of those have been wrestled with and working on. Mr. Leonard, who is behind the chair today, has been talking about attrition, which I think is an amazing concept based on where we're at. Speaking of where we're at, I just spent 4 days at the Kane County Fair, and I just didn't spend an hour. I spent 26 hours there, and my sole intent was to meet as many citizens in or outside of Kane County with a simple question. You from Kane County? Yes. How's it going with taxes? Overwhelmingly, nobody, right? Pennies add up. Ladies and gentlemen, those are your constituents. You need to listen to them. Is there a very small group of people that think keep raising taxes is a good idea? Absolutely. There were 17,000 people out of 71,000 at the consolidated election that felt that way. But the overwhelming majority of constituents from Algonquin to Big Rock have had enough. Now, the CPI over the last few years since 2015 to 2021, Kane County took a very conservative approach, often freezing or partially increasing the levy. Only the last 36 months, because of the outrageous spending, we are where we are. This board is elected by the constituents. We're wanting to see you roll up the sleeves, do the hard work. Spending cuts, department budget reductions, hiring freezes, attrition-based staffing, delay capital projects unless they are emergency needed, and reduce any discretionary spending. I could spend an hour talking about that. One of the other citizens just brought up the grocery tax 1%. I think Cook County is the only county out of the 102 counties that are currently doing that. I'm reminded of a friend of mine. We don't want Cook in Kane. Kane County is a conservative county by nature, and we should be trying to eliminate the waste without raising taxes. Thank you very much.
Mr. Anderson. Our last speaker today is Denise Theobald.
Good morning. Good morning. Is that on? Hi, I want to speak honestly today about the Kane County budget deficit, how we got here, what's at stake, and who's really responsible. Imagine your house, the roof starts leaking, the foundation is sinking, repairs are clearly needed. But the person in charge of the finances keeps saying, no, we're not going to fix anything this year or next year. He calls it fiscal responsibility, but he refuses to work, refuses to raise even $1 for maintenance or future repairs. Eventually, the house is in shambles. The next caretaker is left with the bill. That house is Kane County. For 10 years under former chairman Chris Lawson, Kane County imposed a tax freeze. Not once did he increase the property tax levy, not even to keep up with inflation. It was a political decision, not a practical one. The consequences were serious. Roads deteriorated, emergency systems aged out, county buildings went without repair, IT systems lagged, and county employees were underpaid. Meanwhile, inflation surged, gas, labor, materials all cost more. The population grew and demand for services grew with it. But year after year, Lawson said no, small leaks became structural failures. And while the critical needs went unfunded, Lawson had no problem spending hundreds of $1,000s of taxpayer money on his legal settlements or renovating his own office, all in self-interest. Now, Treasurer Lawson still refuses to work constructively with this board. He doesn't cooperate. He didn't cooperate then, and he doesn't now. And talk about lack of transparency. Delaying the release of accurate financial data, filling his reports with far-right partisan opinion pieces instead of facts, spinning numbers to make him look like he is in control. His goal isn't good governance, it's division and distraction and his need for power. Just look at his record over the years. Let's be clear, Kane County budget deficit isn't the result of reckless spending or mismanagement. As Lawson and his misinformation network claim, it's the result of a decade of denial, refusing to make modest, responsible tax adjustments to keep pace with inflation. If Lawson had done the right thing back then, this board wouldn't be facing the hard choices it has today, cuts, layoffs, and emergency fixes. And when this board did try to offer a solution, a small, sensible retail tax referendum, Lawson led the charge against it, spreading false and misleading claims. That tax would have helped close the budget gap. It's a perfect political setup for him. Break the system, blame the people trying to fix it. But Kane County citizens have had enough. We're tired of the lies, the political theater, the chaos we see at the federal level. And we were not going to tolerate it here in Kane County. We're not going to let him and his far-right echo chamber throw hate and trash into our community. We want bipartisanship. We want facts. We want solution. We want you to work together. It's time to stop letting the arsonists pretend to be firefighters. Thank you.
Well, yes. Certainly, go right ahead.
Hi, Michelle Bettag. I just am here to speak about the tax that's proposed and also the spending that's happened in the last 3 years that I've witnessed. Based on facts, the spending that has occurred here in this room time and time again is an insult to Kane County citizens. As we know, I've mentioned it many times, we are the 28th, number 28 as far as taxed in the country out of almost 3,300 counties. It's fine. If people would like to be taxed to death, that is fine. This is nothing to do with a political party. As Mr. Anderson spoke about, we spoke to many people at that Kane County Fair that were on both sides. People love to talk. They're very irritated. They're highly under pressure to pay their bills. If people want to pay, then they can make a donation at the Chris Lawson's office. Regarding the responsible bidder ordinance that was passed in 2023, this is detrimental to our county. This is a crime. This is frankly a crime. What Parag has passed here is giving us nothing but pressure and overspending at this county. This should be eliminated immediately. We are paying 1/3 higher cost to do the jobs at Kane County. Meanwhile, it's going into the pockets of unions that donate back to Parag. It's simple as that. And if people are fine with paying it, then that's fine. But people need to be educated on the fact that this is a case of it is fact. And if you want to go on emotions, you can go on emotions. That's totally fine. This is not an emotional board. I'm sorry, Dale Berman cannot run this board anymore. He cannot run the finance committee. I know you're waiting for the special
Mr.
election
Chair, point of
window to
personal
close.
privilege.
Sorry,
I agree. That's got nothing to do.
it has everything to do with it. He's the finance
Gums, Mr.
chairperson.
Chair,
Yes, Ms. Gomes.
we do not attack Mr. Berman.
We are not
here.
attacking. We're grateful for his service. He's unable to perform his duties. That's
Mr.
the
Chair, I have the
special
floor.
election.
This is an area,
Okay,
you know, I
no problem.
appreciate your comments.
Thank
but
you,
let's
Mr.
move on
Leonard.
from
Thank you
that.
so much.
Thank you very much. That's the end of our public comment today. We'll move on to the treasurer's report. Mr. Lawson.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. I'm sorry, that's distressing. Would it be possible to come back after the auditor's report or whenever you would want it, Mr. Leonard?
Absolutely. We'll do
to
the
absorb-
auditor's report first.
Thank you.
Handle that issue, and then we'll come back to you. Moving on to the auditor's report, Ms. Wegman.
Good morning. So my report is on file. I can certainly address any questions that may be associated with it.
Any questions for Ms. Wegman? Seeing none, I believe you have a presentation that you would like your intern to present.
Yes, so we're going to go a little bit out of order. So we're going to move D up to B, please, so that my intern, Matei, can present her audit that she conducted. As part of our internship program, our intern is able to complete an audit on their own with assistance, and then we have them present it to the board for experience, and being that it's placed on YouTube. So please be nice.
Welcome, Matei.
The auditor's office performs an audit of all P cards and respective transactions to provide a semi-annual.
Please get closer to your microphone?
A semi-annual P card review. JP Morgan is Kane County's P-card provider. P cards are essential for facilitating purchases of certain goods. For the fiscal year 6-month, Kane County P-card purchase totaled to $984,342 with 12 cents, with 3,730 total transactions. The sheriff's department has the most purchases with 968 and 280,000 with 395 and 11 cents in dollar amount, as the number of employees have increased. For the fiscal year top vendors, the top vendor used and paid the most was with Amazon, 1,112 transaction is 163,838 with 60 cents. The overall total use and paid transactions was 1,219 with a total of 330,000 with 510 and 52 cents. For the procurement card usage of the fiscal year, as shown on the bar chart, the P card spending has increased over the past years and is likely to continue. The 6-month fiscal year 2025 total was 984,342 with 12 cents, which we anticipate to increase in the next months, in the six months. By the end of the fiscal year, we anticipate that the amount will increase to more than the fiscal year 2024 of $1,865,012.78. Any questions?
Any questions for Matei? If not, thank you very much. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank you. So then we do have two resolutions. The first one will be approving the June 2025 claims paid.
I need a motion and a second to discuss and move forward.
Surges moves.
Surges moves.
Okay.
And Lewis seconds. Any discussion, questions on this? The amount, just in case anyone's interested, is $21,670,466.44. Any questions, discussions, concerns? Seeing none, please do the roll.
Juby?
Aye.
Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Sturgis?
Yes.
Tepe?
Steffi, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Passes.
The resolution is approved.
And then my second resolution is to amend some previous resolutions for Scribner's errors.
I need a motion and a second to
Steffi moves.
discuss. Tepe moves.
Juby seconds.
Juby seconds. Any discussion on this? These are actually 5 Scrivener errors that occurred during the last year, and we're just correcting all of them at once. They were in your packet for review. Mr. Tepe?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just want to commend all the people that were involved in making this happen, not only the auditor's office, but I know Mr. Ford and the staff associated with doing this with ARPA, as well as the people on the ARPA staff. We've tried to communicate that these are Scrivener's errors. We didn't have to have a special ARPA meeting in order to approve all of this. And we hope everybody feels comfortable with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tepe.
And I'd
Ms. Juby?
just like to add, these just appear to be the language describing the actual dollar amount. So the dollar amount was correct, just the language describing it was incorrect. So it's truly a Scrivener error. For those who haven't been able to read it, it's totally on the level.
Very good point, Ms. Juby. Any other questions, concerns? Seeing none, please do the roll.
Juby? Juby, aye.
Lewis? Lewis, yes.
Sturgis?
Yes.
Tepe?
Steffi, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes. Resolution's approved. Thank you very much, Ms. Swegman. We'll move to the treasurer's report. Mr. Lawson?
Thank you very much, Mr. Leonard. Can you hear me? I just want to check the equipment here.
Yes.
Okay. First, before I give my report, may I just make a request of the board, actually it's the board and board members, whether we agree or disagree with what any person in public comment, and there are things that I very much adamantly disagree, but I wouldn't dream of interrupting a person as a board member, as a responsible board member. I would just make the request, and it's certainly up to the board to decide, but please let them finish. They are our boss, they are the employers, they are the taxpayers, they pay a lot of money. In 12 years that I've been watching these meetings and attending these meetings and been in charge of more than 100 of these meetings, I have never heard a constituent effectively silenced by any board member, at least during the time that I've been here. So just a simple request, please let constituents finish their comments, whether we agree or disagree. So thank you for that indulgence. First of all, I'd like to express my respect and appreciation for Chairman Dale Berman. I hope he's listening in. In the late 1950s and the early 1960s, as an elite IBM salesman, not only did Dale sell the county its first IBM 360 computer, but he also sold my father his first. And the use of that innovation put food on the table for me, my brother, and my 2 sisters. Eventually, that also laid the foundation or the groundwork for a system that served 22,000 small business clients through 450 franchised offices. So I thank you very much, Mr. Berman. I'm out of state on summer break, so I'll be brief. I submitted our report approximately 7 to 8 days ago. Highlights are that we collected and distributed interest income of $1.25 million, so $1,250,000 for tax agencies in Kane County in just June. We also earned $1.5 million for county taxpayers, so that's interest income that we get to keep for budget purposes. This amount is just short of the projected entire years or 12 months interest income 2 years ago. So the grand total for this month's interest income is $2.8 million. Let's see, could you go to Dale? Yes, you read my mind. Thank you. This is my favorite chart. Shows visually the 2.8 million. Let's see, number 8, slide 8, please. This is Jeannie Lifka's favorite chart, and she put it together. This is the cumulative interest earned over the last several years. Next. This is the interest by year, with the partial year being November 30th of 25. And as you notice by the asterisk, it's through June. The next page 10. This merely shows that we're still ahead of either even or ahead of benchmarks for both short and longer term. Number 11. Okay, this is every investment instrument listed and reconciled to the financial statements at the beginning of the report. So you advance that forward. The next 8 pages are every single investment instrument that we have. Good. That slide, thank you. That's number 19. Basically, what this report shows is that a comparison between June 30th of 24 and June 30th of 25. So last year versus this year, there's 25 million less to invest, and that loss of $25 million at just 4% is approximately $1 million that you have less to spend this year than the same time last year. If you go to the, let's see, next slide. Okay, continue to flip through. It'll be several of them. Yes, that one right there. Good, thank you. Although the interest rates, the benchmark rates, have declined by 8%, we've actually earned $7.5 million with the help of 3+1 Cash Fest tight management. That represents approximately 100 times that $7.4 million represents 100 times what we pay them. And so I think a bargain for the investment that we make. And then finally, the remaining slides are just show, and I haven't fully digested them, but I wanted to give them for board consideration. If you'd advance to the next slide. Basically, all these charts show patterns of our cash flow during the year. And again, I haven't fully digested them, so I don't feel like I'm ready to demonstrate. But what we're trying to do is put together information where we can project interest income so that you have that additional information as you're wrestling with the budget. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, for today.
Any questions for the treasurer? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Lauzon.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard.
Moving on to the finance director, Ms.
Mr.
Hopkins.
Chair Gums,
Yes, Ms. Gums.
thank you very much. I just want to respond. Under Robert's Rules of Order, it is perfectly acceptable to interrupt and maintain decorum. Any personal attack on an individual is not acceptable. This is why I interrupted, because I wasn't going to allow the personal attack on our board member to continue. And if it hasn't happened before, I'm always the first. But respectfully, I am protecting our board, and I will continue to do that. So I do appreciate Mr. Lawson's words, but it matters to me. And I was not going to be quiet on that.
Thank you, Ms. Gomes. I appreciate your comment. Mr. Surges?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michelle, I just want to make sure that we're discriminating between comments on work product versus personal comments. I don't want to stifle anybody that would come here and criticize my actions. But somebody that might be coming here to criticize me personally, I agree would not be acceptable. So whatever those boundaries are and however we do that, I would like those enforced as well. So
Cliff, and I totally agree with you, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. There are boundaries, and personal attacks are just very different than working attacks. I'm all for it. If you want to criticize how we're doing our job, absolutely. But there's a personal, in my opinion, a personal attack here, and I just can't allow that to continue. And if we don't say something, then it will continue. So.
Thank you, Ms. Gomes.
And
Mr.
I
Surges,
just-
thank you, and Chairman.
And I just concur. I concur with both members of this board who just spoke about personal attacks. It's inappropriate.
And Mr. Gripe, I see you'd like to make a comment. Please feel free to mention what you'd like.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think having personal attacks eliminated, minimized, whatever is a great idea, but it should be a two-way street. And I'm sitting here watching this thing, and somebody that goes on for 3 minutes and trashes one elected official, nobody says anything. And somebody says something else about another elected official, and people get all, upset. I'm not saying it's not legitimate, but it should be a two-way street. And we shouldn't remain quiet when one elected official is trashed and then object when others are. So I just would love it if we applied this evenly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gripe. Mr. Franks?
So I hate to be the bearer of bad news for everybody. You cannot regulate content. So if they want to give a impassioned speech on a personal attack against a board member, unfortunately, that is allowed. It's if they start shouting down people, it's if the actions take over the language where they're no longer allowing the board to continue on with its work. But having a calm speech that might be filled with vitriol is still technically allowed. And I'm not saying that's what anybody did here. I'm just trying to give an extreme example that would still have to be tolerated.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Franks. Any other comments on this subject matter? Seeing none, we'll move on to our finance director, Ms. Hopkinson.
Hello. I have a short presentation today. Just a couple slides. So next slide. This is just our general fund, general account, which is our main operating account. So the highlights, things to point out on the revenue side, grant revenue is below budget in a significant way, primarily due to certain grants from the state's attorneys and the sheriff's office. Licenses and permit revenue is down significantly enough to point out to you, mainly because of permits from the development office. It's about 300,000 below where it should be at this time. On the other hand, our sort of miscellaneous revenue, other categories, is a little above range. We got a refund from Constellation Energy for 62,000. But overall, our revenue in our general fund, general account is below where it should be at this point in the year. It's about 9% below. Most of that is timing. It will be made up when we get our second installment of property tax revenue. On the expense side, a couple of highlights. We really don't have very much capital spending in our general fund, general account, very minor spending. It's above target. Our budget this year was 331,000. We're at 501,000 right now. The sheriff's office purchased some vehicles, about 287,000, which were not part of the general fund, general account budget. Under commodities, we are pretty significantly over budget at this point in the year, primarily because of food in the sheriff's budget, food for detainees, which is about 800,000 over the annual budgeted amount for that line item already at this point in the year. We're already $800,000 over what was budgeted for food. The expenses in total are pretty much on target with budget. The budget being $140 million. We would expect to have spent about 80 million at this point in the year, and we're pretty close. In terms of how does that play out with utilizing our fund balance, we had budgeted to use $27 million of fund balance to pay for expenses. At this point in the year, if you look at that actual column, we've used about 19 million. We would have expected to have used about 13 million. So we're a little overspent there, but it will be, I think, primarily made up if we stay on budget with expenses. That revenue gap would come with our second installment of property tax revenue, but we're still on target to use about $27 million of fund balance. Next slide. This is just my,
Excuse me.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Surges. On some of those items like license and permits, is there the potential that there was a glut of permits that we pushed out last year right at the end and are working their way through, or?
Yeah, I don't have that
No
information
problem.
for you right now.
I'm just curious.
Yep.
Ms. Spates?
Yeah, what, also about grants, is that timing or is that a red flag?
I don't have all of that detail today for you.
Go ahead, Ms. Hopkinson.
Okay, next slide. So where are we in terms of our general fund? All accounts, there's 6 accounts in terms of total fund balance. As we've mentioned before, the general fund is made up of 6 accounts. All of the operating costs that we talk about that was just reflected in the prior slide is budgeted through that bright green general account. So the general fund general account. Pretty much all those other accounts over time are restricted. We can't touch them, but they get considered as part of the general fund. The light green special reserve is, I would say, truly extra money. It's just sitting there. It's part of fund balance. It doesn't have any budget. There's no department budgeting its operations in it, like some of these other ones. And according to our financial policy, the only way that that money can be used in that special reserve is through board action. So as of July 16th, we are at about close to 60 million in total of the general fund general account and the general fund special reserve, which is what was where we expect to be. If we continue to spend our general fund general account budget, which we're on target to do, as I just described in the previous slide, and we only collect the revenue that we budgeted, we will end this fiscal year at November 30th, 2025, with a little less than $60 million in fund balance. If we were, so that red line is where is the 90-day reserve in all of this? So we calculate the 90-day reserve as 90 days of whatever the expense budget. So our expense budget is 140 million. So 90 million would be, or 90 days would be about 35 million. So that's that red line. if we were to put another budget together for 2026 with a $27 million use of fund balance, we would end up below our 90-day reserve. And we would essentially have used up all of our general account fund balance, and we would have started digging into our general fund special reserve balance. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Ms. Hopkinson? Yes, Madam Chair.
I do. Thank you. Kathleen, when you have the opportunity, could you do a deeper dive into the grants? If I know you mentioned that a lot of it is from the sheriff and the state's attorney, but I'm just curious why, if there's any other departments and if it's the impact that's coming through perhaps federal government, or is it just state government who are doing cutbacks? And just if you could maybe have Paul put together that report for us, that'd be appreciated.
Sure.
Mr. Surges.
Ms. Hopkinson, I have a request, and I'm not sure if the request is specific to you or if you're just possibly the gatekeeper. But following the last few meetings that we had, I had a reach out from CASA asking me to review their riverboat funds that were given to them. And there seems to be some confusion. I've made several phone calls, and Bill, you and I, even last night, we're not on the same page on this. And what I'm looking to ascertain is, I believe we just passed a 2025 allotment that came from the riverboat. I think there is an indication from CASA that they turned in a request and were in fact denied. Bill, we kind of thought that maybe they were built into there, and we're just trying to figure out, who do we ask to figure that out if they were or were not?
So Riverboat is now rolled up under the development office. So I would ask Mark Van.
Don't ask you.
Mark Van Kirkhoff oversees the
Okay.
Riverboat application process.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you so much.
And then, of course, Chris Caios is the chair.
I
of
have,
that.
Madam Chair, I have reached out to Mr. Caios. I've included you on those emails. I've had verbal conversations with Mr. Leonard. We were trying, I had a very nice text string with Debbie Allen. And the reason I'm pushing so hard is, as Deb was emphatic with the notion of, there is a large reserve amount in that riverboat fund, and the notion of a soft landing while we begin to make this pivot in terms of how the spending and the way we need to be taking our actions. So if a group that has, at least for the past 5 years that I've researched, has received a certain amount of money, and in this case, somewhere between $50,000 to $90,000 a year from the riverboat for the past 5 years, and then we cut them to zero, that's not a soft landing. So I would like to look into that just a bit. Yeah, and if we can help them out, then I would like to. So,
Yeah, I
thank
agree.
you.
I agree.
Thank you, Mr. Surges. Being on the Riverboat Committee the last 11 years now, with respect to the soft landing, our hope was that if those funds ever dried up or we didn't get those anymore, that we would have enough for at least one additional year of allocations to all the different recipients. At this point, I believe we have approximately $10 to $11 million in there, and approximately $5 million will go for the current year, which would still leave another $5 to $6 million for, quote, a soft landing. But until you talk to Mr. Van Kirkhoff, I don't think you'll have a definitive answer, but I think that was our intent on the Riverboat Committee, and that's the way it hopefully will work. Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else for Ms. Hopkinson? And Mr. Gripe has a question. Go ahead, Mr. Gripe.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Hopkinson. Good stuff. I just want everybody to be aware, as I'm sure you are, I was getting this terrible feeling in my stomach as I was looking at that chart, that Kathy is helping us see the edge of the cliff that we are standing on, next to. And, you know, the time for getting serious about what we're in, the process we're in is definitely here. And we need to assume things like, what if the budget goes up from the 140? What if, you know, there's some tax proposal on the agenda? What if that doesn't happen? You know, we've got to be prepared for different ways other than just saying we're just going to raise taxes. We're going to, you know, not have to worry about cutting as much. So I know everybody takes this seriously, but it literally made my stomach turn and it's not a criticism, Kathy. I was just, you know, the numbers are there. And we need to be very serious about what we're staring at and move in a better direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gripe. Any other comments? If not, I think Mr. Gripe's concerns are a great segue into Mr. Teppe's presentation he's going to make now on a suggested revenue allocation for 2026 made by a group of 5 people: Mr. Teppe, Ms. Lobrillo, Ms. Hopkinson, Mr. Feinstock, and myself. Thank you, Mr. Teppe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Charles, would you bring up the presentation? And we'll be emailing a copy of this presentation out to the all the board members after this meeting. So first, I want to echo Mr. Leonard's comments. Really, these 5 people have worked together very diligently on this. We've all participated. We've had some great discussions, but this is just concerning the general fund. And I want to point out that these will be our suggestions for the general fund to hopefully have this committee adopt today. What am I? There we go. No. Well, it's on. That didn't work. All right, have I got control? Thank you, Charles. Want to point out, associated with this, all right. Want to point out some of the overriding issues that we feel is key to associated with things. And the first one is it's the county board's responsibility to establish the budget, and it's the requirement of the managers and the elected officials to live within their budget. This may be part of the challenge going forward, but it is our job to establish the numbers that the managers and the elected officials have to live with in relationship to their budget. We want to point out that between the 2024 actual and the 2025 amended budget, that the general fund was 115 million, or for 2025, 112 million for its particular revenue. And our reserve use in 2024 was 9 million. In 2025, as Kathy just reported, it's probably going to be 28 million, maybe even being higher. And we just certainly cannot continue with that. We don't have the funds available to do that. So we have to establish some rules to stay away from that. There are some things that we could do to increase revenue. The primary ones, one is the PTEL increase, which for 2026 would be 2.9%, equating to approximately an additional 2 million in revenue. Second is to reallocate the RTA funds. We've had discussions about that. If we reduce KDOT's allowance to 50%, that would allocate another 6.854 million to the general fund. In total, which would devastate KDOT, in total, the amount of funds that are available are 13,700,000, because much of the RTA funds are already in the general funds or allocated. The other suggestion that we've had to consider is that we can use the riverboat funds internally. We're currently using about 4 million a year of that. That means that we could use another 1 million potentially of the riverboat funds. So if we were to look at the maximum budgeted revenue that would be available for 2026, associated to those requirements, we're at 129,195,000, but we're not going to recommend that. We think the RTA allocation is of the full amount would just devastate what we're trying to do and would be able to do in KDOT. So our revenue suggestions are to increase the real estate taxes, to allocate more of the RTA tax, and to use 100% of the riverboat funds internally. So again, if we were to begin to look at it, you're going to see slides that look kind of like this from now on, or for the rest of the presentation. Here we show that that's the maximum revenue that we could have. So if we take the 112.5 million in typical revenue, use all available RTA funds, take the full CPI, and use all the riverboat funds internally, that again, just showing you in a different way, that would be 129 million plus for revenue. In all of our options, you'll see some numbers in these areas, and that's health and dental insurance, countywide expenses, debt service for the multi-purpose building, CANECOM for our portion of operations of CANECOM, and capital projects. So if you look at option one, which would be taking maximum revenue and using the submitted budgets from the departments and the elected officials, okay, we would be at a total of 129.2 million for revenue, almost 146 million for expenses, which leaves us with 16.6 million in a deficit. So the internal department submitted budgets with an 8% decrease from 2025. The elected officials on average submitted a 6% increase to their budget. So for a comparative basis here, we've increased the department's part of the budgets to a similar amount in order to illustrate the level of deficit that we feel would be unacceptable. So a big part of our challenge and a lot of our discussions related upon what basis do we use to establish the 2026 budget. The 2026 budgets as submitted so far are just too high. We just can't live with 145 plus million, okay? We feel the 2025 budget would also be inappropriate because of all of the additional changes that were made to it. So the number we decided on is we believe that 2024 actual data is the most effective comparative numbers that make sense to use as a basis for our budget suggestions for 2026. Most departments were properly staffed. In addition, the Safety Act had been implemented. We had that done. Most pay inequities had been remedied. So our 2024 actual numbers for elected and departments, 85.2 million for the elected and 17.1 million for the departments, is a number that we feel is appropriate. So under option 2, where we're not considering any additional revenue other than the base revenue, even that option, when you consider in the elected amounts at the 2024 actual amount, the departments at the 2024 actual amounts, we're up to 127.8 million for expenses, 112.5 million. That would leave us 15 million in the hole. So our suggestion, here again, we're talking about, we still feel that the 2024 actual is best, but without additional revenue, as I said, that leaves us $15.3 million in the hole. So this option is what we feel is the best way, and I put best in quotation marks there on purpose, that we think it's the best way to balance, and balance is also in quotation marks, okay? So we're talking about a base revenue of 112.5 million, 6.8 million additional being transferred to the general fund from the RTA sales tax, which would take, which means 50% of the RTA tax still goes to KDOT. The cost of living index of 2 million and the riverboat fund of 1 million, that gives us the 122.3. Then with all of our other expenses, that totals up to 127.8. That still leaves us at $5.5 million shortfall. We did not necessarily deal with the best way to do that. We feel that that needs to be further reviewed, but moving forward, at worst case, we felt that that could be handled out of the surplus that we have. So as you begin to look at it, the 2024 actual amounts total up to 124.1 million. And you see it there by department. You see the submitted budgets of 139 million. So the difference there is 15.7 million. So the numbers we're proposing for the budget are these. Again, we feel this is the most logical way to establish the 2026 budget. Changes to this budget should only be approved. And we want to emphasize that. Changes to the budget should only be approved if new revenue sources are established or other items are reduced. We've got to live within our budget. We do not have the funds. And without new revenue, further cuts will be necessary in 2027. So this is going to require some drastic cuts. The 2024 actual numbers are about 13% less than the submitted budgets. That is quite substantial. We have no choice. We just don't have the funds. Again, it's the county board's responsibility to establish the budget, and it's the requirement of the managers and elected officials to live within their budget. Thanks for your attention. We're hopefully ready to answer questions.
Any questions for Mr. Teppi? Mr.
Good, thank
Surgeon?
you. I'll sit down.
No, please stay there. Mr. Surges?
Mr. Leonard, thank you. I was under the impression that this report was going to be to us 48 hours in advance of this meeting. As of last night, end of business, I did not have this information. Madam Chair just handed it to me right before Mr. Tepe started speaking. I'm not prepared to take any action on this today, but I'm happy to review it and develop any questions, and I'll point those to Mr. Tepe or yourself accordingly. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Ms. Juby?
I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to read it. I think that because of our committee structure and our order of operations and the time constraints we're having, we're going to be having our executive directors and our electeds have to present their budgets to the committees. So I am suggesting that perhaps we actually send forward the expense portion of your suggestions so that they have a chance to actually get feedback from their committee, because we're just frankly running out of time. I, however, have a few issues with some of the revenues, and I would like that, because that's not as time specific. I would like that to maybe go back to the working group so that they can flesh it out. You can maybe address some of my questions if that would be okay, because that really isn't going to affect the first blush of the conversation with the committees and the new budgets. That would be my suggestion, just because of a time crunch.
Mr. Chair, Leslie, did
Yes.
you have a copy of this prior to
I
end
do,
of
I do,
business
do
last
have a
night?
copy of it, yes.
Okay, I
However, have a copy of the budget until 15 hours before this meeting.
yeah, I'm
So that's why I'm not prepared to pass forward the suggestions on the revenue aspect, because I haven't had a chance to do a deep dive, because I had a life and I wanted to sleep last night. I did read it though.
When did this come,
Ms. Lewis?
when did this come through? Sorry, when
Uh,
did this document come through to us?
I believe Mr. Tepe sent out the presentation last Friday.
No, the presentation was, the presentation was actually sent out last night at 5 o'clock.
Madam Chair.
Oh, thank you. I would just like to have clarity with what Ms. Juby has asked. So just so I understand. So the revenue you'd like to do a little bit further understanding about the revenue side of it. And is that accurate?
Yes, because I didn't get a chance to read the budget, and there was a few concerns that I had that when I actually did my first pass on the budget, I realized that they may or may not already be in that. So I just think there needs to be a little more time to digest that, but I don't feel that that is as time sensitive as the expense portion of it.
All right. So then that's the follow-up question I have, just for clarity. So we know because of the revenue, which is what we're looking at for the expense side, do you want the department heads and the elected officials to review their proposed budget with the proposed, and it's what, 89 million, 88 million, to take a look at what they're proposing to the board, to their committees, with that reduction in mind, or with just their full budget?
No, I'm proposing that there was a twofold suggestion from the work group, which was to go back to the 24 expense side and then look at 3 options for the revenue. I believe there may be a 4th option for the revenue, but I won't know that until I've had longer than 15 hours to
Oh, yeah,
read
no,
the budget. So my suggestion is, because we have to go through the committee process, because that's our procedure, that they get started on that right away, because I'm assuming that what is presented at the committee budgets may or may not be what the committee wishes to push forward. So because there seems to be a discrepancy between what was asked for originally and what the suggestion is from what we can afford. So there needs to be some conversation on that middle ground. And I think that needs to go forward right away for that conversation.
Okay, all right. And it just, no argument, but it is my understanding that the elected officials can present the budget to the board, and obviously to the board, to their committees, and to the board, to what they feel is appropriate for their needs. And we have to accept that whether or not the board chooses to fund those needs is up to the discretion of the board.
And I thought those were the conversations had in committee. So I thought that that's where that went. So that's why I felt there needed to be, they need that extra month to have those conversations before it goes to exec.
Yeah, absolutely.
Permit me to share some of the key things that we discussed during the committee. We don't have the funds to continue moving forward. We cannot handle the budgets that were submitted by the departments and the elected officials. We just can't. We don't have the money to do it. We have to make some hard decisions. In the past, we've allowed the departments to put, since I've been on the board, we've allowed the departments to present their budgets just the way they want it. I think what we're looking at is a change wherein we're saying, you, Mr. Elected or Mr. Department Head, this is your revenue. This is the amount of money you're being allocated. Okay. You should present a budget associated with that. And if we don't do that, we're not going to get to a proper end associated with it. And this is going to be a challenge for everyone. This is not, believe me, this was not an easy subject. We did not approach it that way. We had some tough discussions, but in the end, we are in agreement with this being the budget amount that we're proposing to the committee. And I think if we allow the electeds to do whatever they feel is appropriate without really seriously considering the limitation financially we've got to put on them, we'd be doing a disservice to everybody.
Mr. Roth?
Roth here. The approach we're taking is what has been in the corporate world in my, because I did budgets for over 25 years. And the first thing you do is you lock into your revenue and then you do your expenses based off of that. So I think it's a good approach that we go in that direction going forward. It is going to be tough because we haven't done that before. But
Ms. Lewis, then Ms. Juby, then Ms. Space.
So I'm not in agreement or disagreement with your suggestions. I can obviously see there's been a ton of work put in. I see that this was sent out, this presentation at 5:07 last night. I did not get it. I looked in my spam and everything. I would appreciate in the future if something like this that's critical, even at the last minute, if we get a text saying, because we all text each other, just saying, hey, check this because it's there. So as one of the other board members said, I'm not really ready to discuss all these really, really dramatic measures, which I understand we're going to have to take, but I'd still like to digest a little. So unfortunately, I think we need to have a special meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. And the one point I would like to make, our intent was to get this out to all the finance committee members, a minimum of 48 hours before the meeting. I'm sorry.
Use your mic.
I'm sorry. Our intent was to get this presentation and the budget information out to everyone on the finance committee 48 hours before. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, but I understand your position.
My apologies. That's my fault. Okay. But I didn't get the final changes in until.
No need
like
for
yesterday,
apologies. You guys have been working super hard. Like I said, I appreciate all the work, but I'm just not really comfortable without spending a little more time with it. So, I mean, I really do think we need a special meeting to actually look at what is here. Unfortunately.
I think that's appropriate.
I think it is too. In fact, I have always said, I won't vote on anything that I don't have 48 hours to review. And so in this case, you need more time. We respect that and we will oblige that. Ms. Juby?
So would this be an appropriate time to ask a question, not to you? Your presentation was fine, thank you, but to ask a question about the budget that was submitted that we got less than 15 hours before this meeting?
Certainly.
Okay. I assume that I'm going to be asking you, Kathy, but I don't want to assume anything. So just to clarify, these budgets that we were given last night are the ones that were submitted by the electeds and the executive directors, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So these budgets are then supposed to go get passed to the committees for discussion, correct? That's our procedure, that when they're submitted, then they go to committee and then committee discusses with
But
them.
we decided this year to do this budget work group.
Okay, but they still have to go to committee. Or we're skipping committee and we're sending right to executive.
I don't know that, the presentations to the committee, I don't know if that is a legal thing or just is traditional here at the county to have departments and elected officials present their budgets to their home committees. I don't know the
Okay,
answer to that.
So maybe we do that, maybe we don't. At the last admin meeting, Mr. Fonstock mentioned that he wanted the ROE to have their lease put in their budget instead of in his budget. I understand they had an agreement that anything over the negotiated amount would be covered by the Regional Office of Education, but the original lease amount of $130,000 would stay in buildings and maintenance. I see that the lease has been removed from the buildings budget and placed in the ROE budget. Is that correct? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, all of the other leases for other.
I just
Yep.
asked
So
the
yes.
question, is that correct?
Yes.
It is my understanding that they did not, the Regional Office of Education did not include that in their budget. Is that correct?
We talked to them that we were doing this.
Did they include that number in their budget? So this getting put in the budget, this lease was done by someone else other than the Regional Office of Education when they submitted their budget?
I spoke to them on a
It's
conference.
just a yes
call
or no.
And
Did they-
explained why we were going to be doing it this way.
Did the Regional Office of Education put this in their
I
budget?
put it in there after
You put
having,
it in their budget.
after having
Okay.
a conference call with
All
them.
right. It's also my understanding that the term of their agreement under buildings and management was done by resolution. So any change that they would experience would also have to be done by resolution. Is that correct? That if
I
we
don't
wanted,
underst-
if we
I don't
wanted
understand
to
that question.
change who was going to be paying for the $130,000 of the Regional Office of Education, it would have, because it was created by resolution, to change who would be responsible for that would then also have to be changed by resolution and
It's-
not by a quip that was done during admin's meeting.
It's still the same revenue. It's all coming out of the same fund.
It's now in a budget that the agreement was it wouldn't be put in. It was placed in there by someone other than the elected official who submitted the budget. And I'm just trying to find out how this is happening when there was a comment passed in admin that that should be put out of that. And now all of a sudden here it is. And I do see that we do have someone from the Regional Office of Education. So I don't know, Phil, I don't want to put you on the spot. Hey, thanks for coming. But am I misrepresenting anything to the best of your knowledge? Okay, so
Right, but we talked to them first before we did anything.
What page, sorry, where are you on the budget?
well, it doesn't matter. You could pick any of the part of the budget. I don't have it written down. I just know that there were certain inconsistencies that I noticed in the budget. But having had a relationship for so long with the Regional Office of Education, I was probably a little more intimately familiar with their budget. So when I saw that, it was flashing lights to me. So I'm not really sure where it was. It was more the idea that,
It's on page 10.
okay, and we have 3 different budgets, so it's on different pages and different budgets. So I don't know which one, if you're looking at the 30-page one or the 11-page one. It's more a point of process that we're not following our own process. An elected official submitted a budget. It's been modified without the elected official even being able to present that. And I just have an issue with that. I have a problem with that.
We talked to them before we made any change.
My point is, you shouldn't have made any changes. You should not. You do not have the authority to override an elected official. And frankly, trying to be nice about this, I'm getting tired of this. I'm getting tired of process not being followed. And everybody wonders why I seem like I'm such a jerk. I'm a rules person. We have rules in place for a reason. We have an avenue to follow when we need to make changes. If we need to make a change to the Regional Office of Education's commitment to a lease, it needs to be done by 24 board members through resolution. It doesn't need to be done by another executive director based on a phone call. So gonna let it go.
So when you look functionally at cost of operations, for all the other offices and departments across the county that have a lease, for their staff, that lease is in their budget. And so this lease is just for the Regional Office of Education staff.
And we have a
So it makes sense to be
resolution.
in their budget.
We have a resolution that was agreed upon by another board several years ago when the regional office moved from Sixth Street School, which was sold and torn down. They sought out a location. They worked with everyone to build a specific thing that worked for them. We had an agreement, and now someone has decided to change that agreement. Frankly, I don't care what other departments do with their budgets. If there's a resolution that says their lease is coming out of a different thing, then that's where it needs to stay until this full board takes action. So shame on you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Tepe.
I'd like to point out that this was discussed in our committee, okay? We did not feel that this was going to be something that was so insightful to anybody. We felt that it was a normal course of action to make certain that if an organization is in a particular facility, that was part of their budget, and their budget was to be adjusted for that. So I think the personal implication to another department manager making a decision is a bit inappropriate here, because Mr. Leonard and I were there when it was discussed. We didn't feel that it was a big deal. I'm sorry if you feel that it's a big deal. Certainly, we need to dot the i's and cross the t's, but nothing was done with any intent or any lack of respect for anybody. And I'd appreciate it if things just calmed down a bit.
It's a process thing, Vern. You've known me for 3 years. I'm all about process. That's all. This was a process and we're not following it. And it's unfortunate that it's coming at the time with a brand new person in charge. And he doesn't understand how to work the things. And he maybe didn't even know that there was a resolution, and maybe he didn't know. I'm just saying, when we have a resolution and we have an agreement, that we follow the same procedures when we're going to change the agreement. And I appreciate that nobody else thought this was a big deal, but this is a process issue for me. And it's one I happen to catch because it's one of the budgets that I happen to know. And I'm sorry if you think that I am out of line, but I will respectfully disagree that no executive director and no working group has the authority to override an elected official's budget.
Thank you, Mr. Tepe and Ms. Juby. One point I'd like to make, and then Madam Chair, you'd like to make a comment, is with respect to the process, we may have violated that process. And if we did, then we need to revisit this, go through the proper process. And if in fact this was established through a resolution, then I do believe, and I'm going to ask Mr. Franks for his opinion on this, we have to, as a board, approve a change to the resolution or amendment to it.
That's correct. That's correct. And if I may, if I can just follow up.
Yes,
with that.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. If it was a resolution, perhaps there was no knowledge of that resolution that was created that way. I'm just the benefit of the doubt, so that perhaps that resolution was passed, I'm not sure, 12 years ago, 10 years ago.
2020, it's resolution 20-111.
Okay, so the resolution then should be brought up for review.
Yes.
As any lease we would look at and renew it, review it, and then amend it if appropriate. So that's an appropriate fix, and that is the authority of the board. But the budget line, nonetheless, whether it comes from ROE's budget or from the general fund's budget allocation to whatever department it was in previously, it's still 179,000 annually, and that has to be paid.
Yes, but it is, respectfully, Mr. Chair, but it is $179,000 that they will now have to remove from their 2024 budget when it wasn't in their budget before. now they're going to have to reduce their budget, and now they're going to have to reduce their budget by another 174,000.
I
And
understand
it's
that.
not that we shouldn't be looking at this. It's not that they shouldn't be paying their own lease, because frankly, Phil, sorry, you guys should be paying your own lease. It's the fact that we didn't have them do that. We're asking them to change it. We didn't ask them to change it through the proper procedure, and now they're going to be penalized $174,000 from their budget.
And
It's a process. It's not the dollar amount.
But, if I may, it's not penalized, it's someone's got to have to pay for this. So it's just, I agree with you with the process, but I don't disagree with anybody being penalized on any factor. It's just you have to pay for the lease.
Well, I
Someone's gotta
understand that,
pay
but
for
how do you give someone another debt obligation and then add that to what they already have to reduce when they wasn't their debt obligation in 2024?
I think that to your point, and well said, I do believe that we just have to take a look at that resolution and review the lease and then have the board vote on what their changes may be.
Yes, I think, I like Mr. Frank's opinion on this.
Thank you for walking me into this one. I guess where I'm coming from on this is substantive changes to the budget for a prospective budget in 26 will ultimately have to be passed by the county board. My recommendation would to, at the very least, run something like that. That would be a pretty substantial change to a prospective budget, at least through a standing committee. Where this deviates a little bit is because we're talking about an elected official. So as you may remember from last year, both my superior and I had made a pretty firm opinion that elected officials are required, or the county board is required to allow an elected official to submit the budget that they want to submit. This is a little bit different because it's a lease agreement and there's all this resolution stuff going on from prior years. Just as a kind of prophylactic kind of way of operating, at the very least, I would be running things through a standing committee. So that way it's a publicly available committee meeting where it's openly being discussed. The elected official could attend, at least understand what's going on. I would also be very hesitant to board members in asking staff members to make changes to things, even if they personally approve it or there's a group of you that have approved it. These are the type of situations where staff want to help you in every way they can. And then it puts them in a bad spot where now they're being accused of involving themselves in policy and process. This happens a lot. I've seen it happen a lot. And the reason I bring it up to you is because it's a dichotomy between staff and technically you as like the board of directors. You do not act independently. There is not a single thing that one of you can do under your own volition, except for a statutorily procured thing where you're a chairman of a body. So when a working group suggests something to a staff member, and I'm not saying it happened or it didn't, I'm just going off of what people said here, you're running a very significant risk associated with that. And you're also putting a staff member in a particular position where they're being asked to do something that's not technically approved. So just be mindful of that and be careful of that.
You know, I think too, Ms. Hopkinson, you'll be next. I just would like to make one comment if I could. If we did not violate the process, we need to review the process and find out how we need to handle this properly. This is not an issue of taking money from one department, going to another. It's a process that may not have been followed. To me, it sounds like we did not. If we did not, I'll take responsibility for that. I'll take the fall on that, but we can correct this. And one thing I'd like to point out is what Mr. Tepe presented today were suggestions. So we're not dictating or recommending anything. We're just suggesting some ideas and opinions that we as a group came up with. But I think we need to talk to state's attorney a little bit more, and we need to go through the process and make sure we do it right. I don't think there was any intent on the working group to do anything that was inappropriate. If we did, then I apologize. Yes.
And it's important to note that the 2024 actual numbers for the ROE that were presented today include the building lease. We moved it out of building management into ROE's 2024 actual so that it would be comparative from 24 to 26.
Yeah, Ms. Lewis, did you have a question?
Yeah, the one I'm looking at, it's not, unless I'm looking at something wrong, but, what I found when I was going through this mass amounts of budgets and trying to compare them was, I understand 2026 is our, submitted right now. It's not firm. It can be changed. And so when we had wild swings, and there's several of them in here, not just this one, it would have been nice. I know you were under time constraint to just put a little asterisk next to that saying, change from here to here. So we would have known, because I went down, first thing I did was look at totals.
Mhm.
And if they came out to be, like logical to me, I kind of overlooked it. But like this one, just like Leslie, it went from 376 to 401 to all of a sudden 613. And I'm like, whoa, time out. What happened here? It looks like we bought a building, or that we did some lease, and that's not the case. There's several other ones through that where there's kind of what I call wild swings that probably there's really legitimate reasons behind, but we're looking at a lot of data in a very short period of time, and it just gets my dander up, I guess, as my mom would say.
I think it's a good suggestion, Ms. Lewis, and we will try to follow that. Mr. Surges, did you have a comment?
My only comment is that I have tried to be consistent in this and in this statement. And while I don't have an ultimate solution, what I don't want to misplace or step over the notion that I've commented the concept of thresholds, and that there are certain departments that we have that are truly operating on bare minimum right now. A payroll department, saying we need you to reduce by 10% or 14%. We're at bare minimum. I mean, they're counting paper clips. There's nothing more that we can do there as compared to a much larger department with 100+ employees and operational, expenses. And I don't want to lose sight of that, because we do have several small departments, and asking them to say, hey, you need to cut X out. There is no X anymore. They are at rock bottom minimum. They've always stayed within their budget lines. And without the notion of the threshold, we get really dangerous on things. And I mean, hey, Bill, I'd like you to still work here, but can you work 28 hours instead of 30 hours, and still get your work done? Yeah, I don't want it to become, I would rather get into the weeds and look at, are there programs that we should or shouldn't be funding before we got below that threshold line? So just to put it out there, and again, I'll regurgitate this and dive into it a little deeper now that I have it.
It's a good comment, Mr. Surges. Thank you. I would like to point out that looking at the statute, the state statute, the responsibility of the board is to allocate available revenues to all departments and elected officials, not to micromanage how they spend it or what they do with it. We have X amount of revenue coming in. We have to allocate that in a fair and proper manner without showing any bias or prejudice for any one department or elected officials. So our goal here as a board, whether it be the finance committee or the board as a whole, is to approve an allocation of available revenues proportionately or equally, non-discriminatorily to all the departments and elected officials, period. So I would like to ask one other question. Yes, Ms. Bates.
Thank you. I had one question about the capital allocation in this plan. Was it considered to drop that down for a year? Because it's at 2 million, but I don't want to give up
Well,
my.
it was 6 million this year.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's a drop to 4 million. What I would like to do is see if today.
I have one more comment.
Yes. Ms.
I'm going to sneak this one in. As you, I'm sure, recall very well, Mr. Leonard, we had a lot of meetings like this last year. And as I recall, some of the best parts of this plan came from you last year. However, by the time this plan last year, after several special meetings of the finance committee got to the executive committee, it blew up. This is like deja vu all over again for me and for you and for Mr. Berman, I'm sure. which brings me to, it's kind of like Mike Tyson said, they all have a plan until I hit them. I'd like to see a backup plan to this, just in case. So that's my comment.
Well, thank you, Ms. Bates. I appreciate it. I think the working group, we have more work to do. We will work on it. We're going to try to correct any errors that we have created up to this point and come up once again with an allocation for 2026 based on the available revenues and distribute that equitably to all departments and elected officials.
I love her analogy.
The one thing I would like to ask is if we could get a consensus from this committee today before we move on to at least distribute to all the departments and elected officials our suggestion on the 2024 actual expense allocation so that they have a point of reference, if nothing else. Once again, this is a suggestion. Yes, Ms. Juby.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, and I really appreciate your hard work. And even though I went off on this, I think you tried very hard to be equitable and fair and for us to follow what our actual duty is. So I would agree wholeheartedly that it should go forward to the committees for conversation.
Thank you
Without a
very
vote,
much.
you have my consensus.
Ms. Lewis, do we have your consent on that?
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Sure. Just for clarity, are we looking at 122 million or 129 million? Because those cuts.
We're not talking about the revenue at this point. We're talking about the allocation to the actual expenses from 2024 to all the departments and elected officials.
But yes, I understand completely, sir. But that allocation from 24 is based on projected revenue for 26. So they do match.
And we're
up.
still working on the revenue because we're still off a little bit. We're somewhere between $3 and $5 million still in a deficit.
Yes.
We will work on that, but I think what we were asking here of the committee is the approval to submit to all the departments and elected officials the actual 2024 expenses so that they could use that as a point of reference and knowing where we're coming from.
Okay.
Okay.
If a resolution is passed by the board that causes an increase in expenses for a department that does not reflect the 24 budget, how does a department or an elected official adjust to that?
That is their responsibility. We are not there to micromanage how they spend their allocation. They are. So all we are supposed to do as a board is allocate the available revenues.
Okay.
Anything else on this subject matter? Mr. Tepe?
Just for the record, I want to echo my agreement with everything that Mr. Leonard said.
Now, if that isn't a nonpartisan comment, I've never seen. Thank you, Mr. Tepe. We're going to move ahead then. We have consent to distribute the 2024 actual expenses to all the departments and elected officials. So we'll get that done and we'll move on. Going into new business now, we have 11 resolutions. I don't know that we're going to be voting on all of these. In fact, I think we're probably going to have to delete a couple of those because we're not at a point where we can vote on it. Mr. Tepe?
And I think we're going to have to schedule a special meeting.
Yes, at the end of this meeting, before we leave, we'll schedule another meeting. Ms. Bates?
I'd like to request that the documents that are being sent to the Finance Committee be sent to everyone on the board. We're going to have to vote on this very soon. And especially this budget, this right now secret budget that some people received last night.
And it's not really secret anymore. I think that's a good suggestion. We'll send it to all county board members so they have it to review.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business. Our first resolution is authorizing the Kane County Animal Control Department to utilize the Illinois State Treasurer's Office Electronic Payment Services Program. This is a way for the Animal Control Center to use a credit card payment on
Sturgis moves.
services. Sturgis moves.
Deputy seconds.
Tepe seconds. Ms. Juby?
Mr. Chair, I have to respectfully, out of an abundance of caution, abstain from this vote due to a member of my family working for the Illinois State Treasurer. So my abstention does not reflect that this is a bad program. It's an awesome program. It just is an abundance of caution that I'll be abstaining.
I appreciate your consideration on that. Any other questions or comments on this resolution? Seeing none, Savannah, please do the roll.
Juby,
Juby abstained.
Lewis, sorry, Lewis, I. Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes. Resolution's approved. Thank you very much. Our next resolution is authorizing additional appropriations and budget adjustments for provision of legal assistance to the Kane County Division of Transportation. This is in the amount of a $25,000 transfer. I need a motion
Tepe
and a
moves.
second. Tepe moves.
Juby seconds.
Juby seconds. Any discussion, questions, concerns on this? Seeing none, please do the roll.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis. Lewis, yes. Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Deputy yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes. Resolution's approved. Thank you. Our next resolution is authorizing a contract amendment with Kerber, Eck, and Brackle to provide financial accounting and consulting services for Workforce Development Department. This is increasing the amount from 120,000 to 150,000. This is all grant funded. I need a motion and a second on this.
Deputy moves.
Tepe moves.
Juby seconds.
Lewis seconds. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, please do the roll.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis. Lewis, yes. Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Deputy yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes. The next resolution is authorizing renewal of an agreement with Lauterbach and Amon for accounting services. This was originally a 3-year contract, which is expiring at the end of this year. We're paying about $110,000 a year. It's going up to $120,000 a year. It's a 1-year extension, and I need a motion and a second.
Mr. Leonard, I have a different amount.
Oh, did you have the,
218.
I have $218,400 for the amount that it's going up to from 210 last year. Do I have the wrong
sorry,
information?
no, you have
Oh.
the right one. I had the wrong one.
Okay, I'm sorry, then I second
And
the
if you
motion.
would you please read those numbers off, Ms. Juby?
You want me to read them off?
Yeah.
I have to find them now. We're renewing at $218,400 over last year, which was 210,000. But I don't know what page it's on. I didn't have that.
Yeah, the resolution up there. The
resolution's
Here's the resolution right
Yeah,
here.
it's
It's on page 446.
I apologize for the mistake on that. I was one resolution ahead of myself. Yeah, this is a 4% increase in the contractual consulting services. I need a motion a second, then we can discuss.
I think we had a motion. I seconded. I
Okay.
thought Mr. Tepe motioned. Did you vote motion?
Yes, I did.
Okay, then I seconded, yeah.
Okay. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, what were the amounts, the last year's and the new?
210 last year, it's going up to 218, about a 4%
Okay,
increase.
perfect.
Ms. Juby?
Okay, so we are using a consultant to do routine services, correct? Is there a reason why we are not doing that in-house? Because $218,000 is over 3.5 FTEs at $60,000 a year.
Right, we're not filling some positions in the finance department right
But
now.
wouldn't it be cheaper for us to fill those positions than to pay $218,000 for a consultant to do our everyday daily work?
We get the ability to have, we pay a fixed monthly fee. They can work on a variety of different routine things and special projects at the same time. And we have access to not just one person, but a variety of different people, depending upon the project. So they're helping us with payroll, with 1099s, with bank reconciliations, setting up journal entries. They're doing everything.
So the cost benefit analysis shows us that it's less expensive for us to use them as opposed to have our own in-house people. or we have not
Especially as,
done that.
yes, especially as we're trying to overhaul the finance department and do things smarter, not work longer hours. And so we're doing what I would call a lot of change type projects right now. So we need that sort of assistance to help us move through all these process changes.
Thank you.
You know, I think one other consideration on this too is the fact that at a salary of 60,000, that would be 3.5 people. Then we have benefits and expenses too, which would add about 25% to that. So it'd probably be closer to 2.5 people. Any other questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, please do the roll.
Juby,
Juby, no.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Surges,
Because we're in finance, to move it along, yes, but I would like to see a breakdown of what replacing those with actual staff might look like before we get to finance and final vote. Just throwing it out there.
So your vote is yes?
My
to
vote
move
is yes
forward.
right now, just to move it forward, but I will be asking for a further breakdown.
Fair
Happy?
enough.
Steffi, yes.
thank you. Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
passes 4-1.
Our next resolution is authorizing a renewal of agreement with Lauterbach and Amen for accounting,
That was just the one we did.
sorry. We're going to go into the personal expense vouchers here. This is to approve personal expense for travel by one of our county board members. And I'm going to pull that up if you give me just a second. It's for $22.92.
I will be abstaining.
Yeah, well, you can't vote.
I know.
So it's for $22.92 for, I believe, a lunch or a dinner or whatever. I need a motion a second.
Juby moves.
Lewis will second.
Any questions, concerns on that? Please do the roll.
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Steffi, yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes. Our next resolution is a personal expense voucher also. It's for a business trip for the Kane County Association, attended by Ms. Gumbs. The amount is $3,752. It was approximately a week long. That's airfare, hotels, food, and everything else. $3,572. Thank you very much. I need a motion and a second to discuss and possibly approve.
Juby moves.
Steffi, seconds.
Any questions, discussions on this? Seeing none, please do the roll, Savannah.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Steffi, yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes. Our next one is also a personal expense voucher. And this is in the amount of
$496.22.
$496.22. I need a motion and a second to discuss.
Juby moves.
Lewis seconds.
Any questions, discussions, concerns on this? Seeing none, please do the roll.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Steffi, yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes. The next one is also a personal expense voucher reimbursement, and it's in the amount of $471.20. I need a motion and a second to discuss.
Juby moves.
Lewis seconds.
Juby moves, Lewis seconds. Any discussions, questions on this? Seeing none, please do the roll.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Pepe,
Steffi, yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes. Our next one is an ordinance. This ordinance was submitted by Ms. Gumbs. I'm probably going to ask her for a little background on this, but it is to establish and impose a county grocery retailer's occupation tax and a county grocery service occupation tax for the county of Kane in the amount of 1%. I tried to find out what that 1% would equate to. Very hard to predict what it would be. I was given from pretty reliable sources that it would generate somewhere between $60,000 and $400,000 of additional revenue. Need a motion and a second to discuss?
Oh, Juby moves, sorry.
Juby moves,
Lewis seconds.
Lewis seconds.
Mr.
Any
Chair
discussion on
Jones.
this? Ms. Gomes, I see you're on Zoom. Would you mind explaining your desire to have this on the agenda?
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks for the opportunity. Just for clarity in your statement, this does not give us any additional revenue. What happens here is the state of Illinois has removed the 1% grocery tax. So if we allow that to happen, pretend that somebody walks up to you and says, I'm no longer giving you $1 million a year. What is happening with this ordinance is we are retaining that money. So if we don't pass this, we will lose monies that we already have. If you look through, over 214 government bodies in this state have adopted this language or are adopting this language. So what this is doing is not adding a tax. It is retaining the monies that we cannot afford to lose. And I think just if you have time or anybody wants to Google why these municipalities are doing so and these government bodies are doing so, it's because they recognize that we cannot lose any money. So compliments of the state, they have taken money from us as they consistently pile mandates on us, unfunded mandates as well. So this is for discussion, but that is the purpose, not to get more revenue, but to retain what we already have. And as you all know, we cannot afford to lose any money.
Thank you, Ms. Gomes. I appreciate the explanation. So basically what we're doing is we're not increasing taxes. We're transferring the body that is charging the tax from the state to the county. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Any other questions, Mr. Surges?
I guess I would direct this to Ms. Gomes, who honestly I did speak with at length on this because I'm confused. We seemingly don't have a projected figure for what X is, which makes the decision difficult, which makes the conversation difficult. However, my understanding is whatever definition you give or quantifying number you give to X, that number is not increasing or decreasing. It is simply shifting from the mechanism that collects it.
Correct.
And as long as I'm understanding that, I'm okay with this. But if it is somehow buried deep within this, that it is X plus, then I am against this.
Well,
it is, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Gomes.
Thank you. It is not X plus. I can assure you of that. It is, as the chair stated, just transferring that authority. So the X amount that you refer to is very hard to calculate. I have inquired about that. I will tell you another government agency said it doesn't matter what the X amount is because we can't afford to lose X. If it's $10 or $400,000, we can't afford to lose it.
Michelle, I totally understand that, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I totally understand that, but my experience is that the devil's in the details and that there's always just a little something else buried there that the state isn't saying, jubilantly, hey, we just don't want to collect this for you anymore. There's always something a little bit buried. And so my question is specifically that if it is truly X, it stays the same, and we're just simply changing how the collection process works, I'm okay with this. But if I come to find out that it's X plus, I will be adamantly against this. So,
one thing too, Mr. Surges, to remember on this, Ms. Gomes has done a lot of research on this, and when she's
I'm relying on her research.
Yes, and so I feel confident in the opinion that she's giving us. However, realize too that this is a committee, and all we're doing is, if we approve it, we're moving it forward for additional consideration and vote. Any other questions? Ms. Lewis?
Yeah, not a question, comment. So when this news first came out from the governor's office, that budget saying they were decreasing it or, rescinding it, it was to give people a break, to give them back, that tax. So for us to turn around, I know you're saying it's replacing it, and instead of taking it from the state, we're going to just take it straight to the county, and that the people aren't going to feel the difference. But if the state indeed intended to give it back to the citizens as, a help, then I don't feel good about then turning around and saying, no, we're going to take it now.
You go be the
Yeah.
bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you would be the right guy. So and if it's $60,000, I understand and that every penny counts, but I think there's other things we can do than to impose more tax on people. So my idea at this point is no, and I'm basing that 60,000 on an email that Ms. Hopkins has sent out on 6/2, saying that it's really, really hard to determine it, but at least it's 60. So yeah.
Is truly, Anita, are you suggesting X is really just 60?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we don't know. It's a range of 60 or higher. So we're not sure how much higher. Is that correct?
Yes, the state tracks the revenue in specific categories. I'll give you an example of two categories. One is called general merchandise, one is called food. When you ask the state, where is the grocery tax revenue? It's buried within general merchandise and within food. They tell us that there's no way that they can tell us how much grocery tax revenue. I spoke with other municipalities within Kane County. One of them said that they didn't even bother doing a calculation because they knew that at the end of the day, they couldn't afford to lose any money. So whatever it was, they just adopted their particular ordinance. Other municipalities said they just did their best guess estimate based on how many retail grocery stores were in their jurisdiction. So at the end of the day, this is only tax revenue that's coming from organizations in unincorporated King County. So if you kind of look around, right, it could be as low as 60, it could be more. There's no definitive report that can be generated. So it's just a best educated guess.
Mr. Leonard, I do have a follow-up on that. In my notes that I prepared for today, there is item B on that, county grocery service occupational tax imposed. It goes on to say that in the business of making sales of service. I didn't understand the language of the service portion of that. I was able to grasp and understand gross receipts of items.
Yes.
But the service portion, is that something new that's been added? Was that the original language within there? What services are they discussing in that? I couldn't find anything, like when I Googled a little bit, I just got a little bit more confused.
I can't answer that. It's a very good question. And Madam Chair, do you have an answer for that?
Yes, there was an addendum that was included, state law, and B says here, if a tax has been imposed upon subsection A, then a service occupation tax, so A comes first, must also be imposed at the same rate upon all persons engaged in the county but outside of a municipality in the business of making sales of service, who, as an incident to making those sales of service, transfer groceries as defined in this section as an incident to a sale of service.
I don't know what that means.
That's what I handed to you.
It's like talking to my grandson. I heard a bit, what is, I don't.
He knows everything.
So I would suggest that perhaps we can turn this over to Mr. Frank, and he can just kind of take the legal and
How could we
translate
ask
it into normal language.
He's looking to Mr. Ford, so yes.
So Mr. Ford actually helped on this. He's the one who kind of helped draft the language and talk to a lot of them. He might be able to answer some of your questions. As you can imagine, this is a pretty niche little thing of law. So he's had the opportunity to look into this. I'll let him go ahead and answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Stephen
Thank you,
Ford from the
Mr.
State's
Ford.
Attorney's Office. As to the subsection B, or I guess I'll pull back really quick. The A, B, and C are required by the state in order for the Department of Revenue to impose these taxes. The language you read, Madam Chair, from the state statute does require this service type tax to be imposed. Given that it is required by the state statute and because the Department of Revenue is required to administer the tax, I suppose if this committee or the board wants more specific information to illuminate what that subsection B is, the county can reach out to IDOR and potentially follow up to maybe give some actual concrete examples to the extent that the state has it.
I guess my point would be if a constituent came up to you and asked, do I have to pay this? I don't even know what it is to explain to them, much less, I'm just unclear as to what the intention of this, because at first blush, I said, this is the delivery of groceries, like a delivery service. And then I said, no, maybe this is the manufacturer of groceries the service. And then I went down a rabbit hole, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know what this means, or if this was added to and is new and additional, increasing X. You see where I'm going here?
Yes.
I don't have that information.
Mr. Ford.
Yeah, I think we can, whether it's our office, whether it's working with, county staff, we can reach out to IDOR and find out exactly what that would look like for the county if this tax is imposed.
And it does say, according to, January 1st, 2026 is this.
That's when it goes
when this
into
law
effect.
was-
Yeah.
Was created. The transfer over.
Ms. Juby?
So, Mr. Ford, may I ask Mr. Ford a question?
Certainly.
You saw nothing in this resolution that you drafted that would indicate that there would be anything additional other than the straight 1% that was previously collected by the state of Illinois and transferred to the county, correct? So I think Mr. Surgis, my understanding of his questions are he's hanging up on that word service, which there was conversation about taxing services. This is not what this is. I believe that, and I am not an attorney, I believe that making sales of service is another way to say selling groceries. I believe it's a jargon or whatever, but you saw nothing that would indicate that there would be any additional things other than what currently is in place now that will sunset out in 2026.
With the understanding that the legislature, by enacting this statute, that was their intent, was to basically just replace what was being repealed. That's my understanding. We could confirm, but again, what I can say is this is drafted exactly within what is authorized under the new statute for a county grocery tax. So that is the language that if this county wanted to move forward, it would need to have in the ordinance in order for IDOR to administer the tax.
Mr. Chair, Guns.
Yes. Ms. Gumbs, go ahead. And excuse me, Ms. Gumbs, before you, Mr. Gripes had his hand up for a
Oh,
while.
yes.
Could I go to him first? Go ahead, Mr. Gripe.
I'm okay if Michelle wants to go first, Mr. Leonard.
No, go ahead, Mr. Gripe.
All right. Okay, thank you. So a couple of things as I'm sitting here able to kind of soak this in. I think as far as not a new tax, basically in the mind of the taxpayer, is there a tax now? Yes. Is that tax going away? Yes. So at that point, there will be no tax unless the county decides to put a new tax that was kind of the same amount on stuff. So the taxpayer looks at you and says, okay, as far as I'm concerned, that's a new tax. I'm not quite sure what there seems to be kind of a rush to get this in. So I did a little math. If it's 60,000, it represents 0.00004. That's 0.04% of the budget. So everybody else in the state seems to be desperate to not lose this funding. And if we're relying on this funding to do anything, I'd say, it's a rounding error. But my bigger question is, what's the money being used for now, which should lead us to, how much we're getting now. And then more importantly, what will it be used for? And I heard a previous presentation saying that if we did this grocery tax, we could hire interns, paid interns. So if we do that, we're actually going to be spending more than we're currently spending now. So the fact that we're adding this tax after the state takes it away doesn't help the revenue, because we're going to add an additional expense and use this money to pay for it. So I would love to see the finance committee learn more about this, figure out what the numbers are, and then present to this committee and the executive committee and the board what the money is going to be used for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gripe. Ms. Gums, and then Madam Chair, and then Mr. Arroyo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair Gums. First, I'd like to go back to Mr. Surgis's question about the service aspect of it. And I would lean on Mr. Ford to correct me if I'm wrong here. But as I did my investigation, it pertains to the sale of groceries. So if you order, for example, a meal delivery service, you're not ordering, DoorDash, you're getting a meal delivery service. That is what I understand that to be, that service portion of it, as well as, say, a catering company, not a grocer. So it wouldn't be your DoorDash stuff. It's simply groceries, and it has to be within that scope. That's how I understand that. And as to the point of the what Mr. Gripe indicated, I agree with you, Mr. Gripe. I did recall that conversation about adding things. I strongly object to that. What we're doing with the money is maintaining what we're already spending it on. I don't know what that is, just FYI. But I would strongly object to saying, okay, we're going to retain this tax and then add something. I would object to that because we don't actually have any more money to do that. This isn't what it's about. It's about keeping what we have. So I agree with you, Mr. Gripe, on that aspect. But I think that answers both those questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gums. Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to go and respond to the $60,000, and that was my proposal, Mr. Gripe, for the internships. But when we look at municipalities just in Kane County, the revenue from this grocery sales tax can range anywhere from $2 million to, I think, $1 million within that range, depending on how many grocery stores are there. St. Charles did a recent study to pass their own grocery sales tax, and their recent study indicated that there's not a lot of residents actually in St. Charles proper who buy groceries there. That's just a little fact. But now going back to the $60,000, I have gotten feedback from the board that funding for concern that money continues to get used as it is being used right now. That is part of our sales tax budget line. So if you take a look at the sales tax budget line, which I don't have in front of me, that is where that money is being included. And that is included then as part of the revenue for our general fund. So that will remain there. It gets blended, I believe, blended in with all the other revenue for our expenses. I am going to take a different approach, which I'm going to bring to the board to potentially fund a paid internship program that is not going to be coming out of the general fund. So just for clarity and a little update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Arroyo first, and Ms. Bates, and then we're going to vote.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Alex Arroyo here. So currently Aurora itself is debating a 1% grocery tax. So I guess beforehand, it was 1% collected by the state and distributed to the municipalities. Now, if Aurora were to implement a 1% grocery tax and we implement a 1% grocery tax, are we not in effect double taxing the residents of Aurora?
Not at all.
No.
No, not at all.
No.
I think the location of
Maybe
the
I'm
groceries
misunderstanding.
is what this tax is all about. These are grocery stores or places that sell groceries, not in municipalities.
It's
Well-
incorporated only.
So it wouldn't be a double
Correct.
tax.
It would not be, it would, so a city of Aurora, if they were to implement a 1% grocery tax, they would be exempt from paying this tax in the county?
Yes.
That's
We're only in
correct.
the unincorporated
Oh, not a
areas.
corporate, okay, it's hard to
Yeah.
hear. Thank you, everybody.
Ms. Bates?
I want to speak to Mr. Gripe. Hi, John. That $60,000 with all those zeros in front of the percentage is interesting. However, that $60,000 also equates to most of one person on our payroll. Depending, it could be half, it could be most of a whole person, which does not have a lot of zeros in front of it.
Thank you, Ms. Bates. If everyone doesn't mind, I'd like to, Ms. Hopkinson.
Just someone had asked the question about what is the urgency. So if we want to retain this grocery tax or have this grocery tax effective January 1st, we have to have this passed and into the state by October 1st.
Okay.
Okay.
So time is of the essence, not necessarily today, but it is important that we get this done before October 1st through the full county board. Savannah, would you please do the roll on this?
Juby? Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, no.
Surges,
Ms. Lewis has convinced me, no.
Tepe,
That'd be yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, no.
Fails 2-3.
Okay, the ordinance fails. This next resolution, I'd like the opinion of this committee, whether or not we should entertain discussion and a vote on this, or if we want to postpone it till our next meeting. The resolution is directing the use of the consumer price index increase as part of the fiscal year 2026 budget. It's a 2.9% increase in property taxes, which would equate to $2 million. And I guess we can have a motion in a second and then we can discuss. So if I could have a motion in a second on this.
Juby moves. Sorry, Juby moves. Lewis seconds.
Juby moves, Lewis seconds. Discussion on this. Mr. Tepe.
Mr. Chair, I believe that both item J and K should be discussed in a special meeting next week.
To postpone it, is that a motion to postpone?
I postpone to hopefully a special meeting next week. Would that be?
Sometime within the next.
I'd postpone it to,
Yes.
well, we need to establish a special meeting, so I would have something to postpone it to. So
Do we need, Mr. Franks, do we need to pick a certain date on this for postponement?
I mean, just in discussion, pick a date and then have him modify his motion.
Okay,
Can I talk before, or are we in the middle of
Ms. Lewis.
a serious thing? I'd kind of like to vote on this one today. I think for me personally, taking the CPI is almost like a no-brainer because to me, it's like your cost of living. And I don't think this one's controversial. We did it last year. So I don't mind voting this, and then that would be a hard one that would already go in instead of some of those others, but this is me.
That's fine. We have a motion to postpone to, let's say, a week from today, whatever date that is.
that would be
That's the
fine.
30th.
Motion to
Okay.
postpone it to a week.
Do
from
we
today.
have a second on that amendment motion?
Surges moves.
Surges moves. Could we have a vote on that, Savannah? This is to move this resolution
What
to
date?
a special finance meeting that we will have a week from today.
Which is July 30th, and currently there are no committee meetings scheduled for that day.
So July 30th at
Wide
9
open.
a.m.
Wide open.
It's wide open.
9 a.m.
Juby? Juby, no.
Lewis, yes,
Surges,
For the special meeting, yes.
for the special meeting.
Tepe,
Yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes. Okay, the resolution is postponed till next Wednesday, July 30th at 9 a.m.
It was also K as well.
Yes, J and K.
I'm sorry,
And K.
It was J and K. So basically.
J
you
and K
are-
both.
You are now on to old business.
Okay,
Miss,
we are done with the,
Mr. Leonard, and
Yes.
for Miss, Miss, does saying we're going to postpone this to the special meeting limit that special meeting to just those two items.
No, we can.
It
do
just
other
means they
things
have to
too.
be included as a part of the agenda. So
Don, there's days that I like you and
So we are done with the new business. Moving on to old business. Does anyone have anything? Mr. Surges?
I just want to report that Mr. Van Kerkhoff, diligently hearing the CASA conversation earlier, has confirmed that CASA did not receive those funds for the 25 budget cycle. And I will be working, I asked him, where do I go to begin the dialogue on that? Is that a finance committee meeting? Is that a riverboat committee meeting? I'll call him outside the meeting and
That'd be fine. I'd appreciate it if you do that. I would also call Mr. Caius, who's the chairman of the.
I'll reach out to you and Mr. Caius.
Okay,
as well.
great.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other
Can
old
I-
business?
Yeah, over here.
Yes, Ms.
I just want to quick weigh in on that, Mr. Surges. So the riverboats are a grant that's given, not automatically given to any nonprofits. You have to put in like, I need that for this year, and I need it for these specific things. And OACASA is an amazing organization. Nobody should ever take for granted in their budget that they're going to get that money, because it's never a given. In fact, a lot of grants say if you got it last year, you won't get top consideration this year. So I appreciate Jim. I absolutely adore CASA and everything they do. But I found these letters a bit offensive, because there's a lot of organizations out there that, are very worthy. And for someone to almost arrogantly say, well, you always give me this, so therefore you should. I didn't think that was a very appropriate comment. So just my opinion.
Yeah.
And nothing against him. He's fighting for his funds. I get it.
Bill, if I can, Anita,
Yes.
I don't disagree with you, and we tried to pump the brakes as hard as we could on that. I will pigtail off of Miss Allen last week, that when you've given that money year over year consistently, and then you pull it by saying we've redirected on how we're going to spend those, we're just looking for a soft landing. And I think explaining to CASA, if those funds are available in reserve to the extent that we're being reported as millions of dollars, that I personally would not have any problem saying, here's your funding request for this year, but going forward, do not count on them anymore. We're breaking the pattern of behavior that we've had in the past. I would be okay with that. And that's just me. So.
Yeah, no.
Thank you, Mr. Caius, and we look forward to your report next Wednesday on what's going on with that. Ms. Bates?
I believe we gave CASA $1 million from ARPA funds also. So our heart is in the right place.
Absolutely.
It's just, the money's not there anymore.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bates. Any other old business? Seeing none?
Mr. Chairman Allen,
Yes, Ms. Allen?
if I can just comment in here, the Riverboat Fund built into its processes the soft landing, fearing that sometime the casino would not be able to continue to give us money. And we wanted to have funds there so that the county would have a soft landing. So it's a little different from what Mr. Surges is saying. If CASA were doing the same kind of soft landing, that soft landing would already be built into their processes. That's not a criticism. It's just a comment on the back and forth here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. I appreciate your comments on that. Moving forward, I need unanimous consent to put the reports on file.
Steppy request.
All right,
Yes,
Lewis
consent.
has unanimous consent. Any objection? Seeing none, the reports are placed on file. I have no comments. Do we have a need for executive session today? Yes, we do. So I need a motion, a second, to go into executive session.
Steppy moves
Deputy moves.
For just a second.
Surges seconds.
to
Roll,
go
please.
into executive session for
Release of.
release of closed minutes.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Juby? Juby, aye.
Lewis? Lewis, yes. Surges?
Yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes. Okay, we're back in open session. We need roll call for attendance.
Juby,
To be here.
Lewis, Surges, Tepe,
Be here.
Leonard,
Leonard here.
Berman, Roth.
Roth here.
Mr. Chair, I
Okay,
move we approve the release of closed session minutes as per attachment A.
Juby seconds.
And could we have roll call on that?
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Tepe,
Yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes. Moving on, we have one more piece of business. I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
Lewis motions to adjourn.
You want to just keep going on.
Yes.
Tepe moves.
All right.
Seconds.
Lewis moved, Tepe second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much.